Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Solio Analytics podcast. We missed you guys and you missed us in Gameweek 16? No, 15.
15.
And now we're back for
yeah.
Gameweek 16. Yeah, 16 is now. And so we are back. We both had decent weeks, right? When Bruno does well, we do well, isn't it, Jonny?
I mean, it was great having the results, but I think I've not had Phil Foden for the last... I know he didn't do much at Game Week 15, but Game Week 14, I'm losing track. Game Week 14 was the midweek. I had no Phil Foden. So right. I think I just went down and then up, back roughly where I was, which was fun. But yeah, it's nice to have the redemption of everyone going, well, did you go Bruno Cap, Game Week 14, the midweek? Or did you go Haaland?
I did,
and you did nothing. And then we swapped to Haaland and it was the other way. And yep, miss all the holes. But otherwise,
at least it validated the decision, right? I mean, there was a little bit of
So you said
Twitter hindsightedness on how stupid can you be to captain Bruno Fernandes, but at least from that point of view, it was a little bit of a small win that, this kind of an outcome was possible. Of course, the haters will say it was only Wolves. Well, it was also only West Ham.
They're not very good. That's the theme of our pods the last few weeks, isn't it?
Exactly.
I did realise after we'd recorded the podcast on Monday for Game Week 14, we didn't actually do a captaincy discussion. We talked about our teams, but it was like, it was close. And I think it's because I was so settled on Bruno. Like I knew it was close. I knew like Haaland was good, and actually I even thought Haaland might have been slightly ahead. But I wanted to go for Bruno to be different, and that's what everyone did. And in hindsight, actually looking at how the games were going to pan out, knowing that Haaland's playing on the Tuesday and Bruno's playing on the Thursday, if Haaland scores 14 points on the Tuesday, you just know that people are going to start making the takes before Bruno's played.
Yes.
It was different because
indeed.
Bruno was rumoured to like not even be playing, and turned out it wasn't that. It was Matthijs de Ligt, and that was my big... He was my one differential on the Thursday. Apart from captaining Bruno, I lost my centre back.
And I noticed, and we're doing a little bit of a backward discussion because we didn't do the Game Week 15 pod. You got triple Newcastle, I saw.
Yes, I used all three transfers. I bought, we'll get there in a sec. I bought Livramento instead of... If I'd bought Byrne, that would have been good. He came off before the goal, but sadly not. And Gordon, who did score a penalty. And Waltemada.
Vote for you. Didn't do for me for many weeks, but of course you got him, got the penalty. Well done.
Yeah.
And Waltemada.
Yeah, well, I bought both. So I was like, I should get the penalty if there is one. And then there was one. I was at the game as well. So that was...
lovely.
I don't think that was what affected my decision, but I was making the transfers on the train down to Newcastle to meet my dad to go and watch the game. And I was umming and ahhing a little bit, and I was like, I've got 3 transfers and not a lot to do. I think we'll get to it with my team, but like it was, do I set up for post getting the 5 transfers, or do I just grab something now? And in the end, I went to grab something now, and Burnley scored in the last minute. Didn't quite work out, but yes, it was good fun. Why not do something a bit?
Also for those on free hit, I
Burnley
saw many
aren't
people
good
went double,
either,
triple defense.
Yes, free hitters. Yeah,
we need to change the theme to... Wolves
good?
are not good and Burnley are not good, because West Ham are getting better.
And Wolves and West Ham are probably... No, Wolves and Burnley are probably worse than West Ham.
Exactly.
Well. But
exactly.
I think it's because we expect them to be bad. Because West Ham have actually been quite good in recent seasons. So anyway, yes. Yeah. That's those are the bad teams. Target them. Pick the good teams. Pick Bruno, even if he's on a bad team, which he isn't. Is he?
Excellent.
Yeah. How did and your last 2 weeks? Good? Happy with Monday night?
What did I do?
You had Bruno?
Monday night was good, of course.
Man United
but
fan?
as a not so happy Man United fan, I'm generally pessimistic. So it was actually end of the first half. I'm in this Man United chat, and we were all like, Amorim has to go. We're drawing 1-1 to this, barely championship level team. This is not good enough. But then second half, they just came out and hammered them. Like, it was a really good performance. So, but it was only West Ham. So we'll see. I think the proof will be in the pudding when we play Iraiola's Bournemouth. Mm-hmm. It was only Wolves, yes, you're right. And so when we play Iraiola's Bournemouth, we'll see what comes out of it. But as a fan, good result. As a Bruno owner, very good result. And we move to Game Week 16. Yes. And with that, I will segue to the agenda. So We're going to quickly talk about a very, very important new feature at Solio, which is something that the guys have been working for a very long time. Sertal did an excellent post on X, which nobody understood. Well, people like me didn't understand. So we're here on YouTube to explain what exactly does it mean. As if you're telling a 5-year-old, Johnny. You're going to tell us what that new feature is. And then we'll keep it short this week. We'll talk about a free hit and we'll do the frontiers because those have been very popular. And we'll talk about our teams, including captaincy, which is also interesting.
Well, yes. Is it? Oh, it is. Yeah. I was like, is it not just Haaland? But no, that's next week. Yes, very confusing. Yeah, so I've got up on the screen. Actually, I'll show you how to find it if you're our Solio user. So if you go to the cog, then the settings, and then optimization under here, then we've got something called decision disruption probability, which sounds complicated, and we've got lots of lovely text here and a nice graph to explain roughly what's going on. So if you're really nerdy and you want to know all the details and you want to learn all about the maths that Sertal and James have been calculating, and Chris has been doing some simulations and working out what the sort of values that make sense are, then you can read more about it, and you can ask us on the Discord server as well. We just like talking maths. But essentially what it's doing is it's a sort of rethink on the way that we were doing. People who use other solvers will be familiar with a free transfer value, which is essentially to assume, there's a value in holding a transfer another week. So let's say there's a transfer that maybe you own Mbumo this week, and there's a player who's about as good as him this week, but then isn't going to AFCON. So you know that you're probably going to make that move next week, but you could make it this week. And if you think the player this week is very slightly better, then technically making the move this week will gain points, or, on average, maybe 0.1, 0.2, a small amount. Or maybe you say he's going to be better 55% of the time, and Mboma is going to do better 45% of the time, depending on how you want to think about it. But actually, if it's only a really small gain, you can wait a week, play Mbomo, just in case you want to do something else with the transfer next week. And in the end, more often than not, you'll just buy the player the next week, and you make the move that you could have done, but there was value in waiting, because maybe the guy you're buying is Szoboszlai, who has on 4 yellow cards. He might be suspended next week. You might have a player who you're waiting on an injury, and actually you can go, I can downgrade to a cheaper midfielder and I can upgrade the striker, or all manner of different things. So you think that's probably what I'm going to do. But when you get there, you often find this if you've got screenshots on your phone of all the sort of teams you've been planning and the transfer routes, and you go, in 3 weeks I'll do this swap, or I'll get to that player. And then you get there and you look back and you go, well, my team's different, or this team's playing differently, or this guy's on penalties now. So there's value in, if there's a big upgrade this week, you should probably do it. If it's a minimal upgrade or a downgrade, obviously you don't do the downgrade early, you just wait. And the only reason not to do that is if you're on 5 transfers. Obviously, waiting and doing nothing, you've kind of burned one. So often when we used to have capped at 2 transfers, I think there was a start to one season where people did burn a couple transfers because their team was fine and they had 2. And it's like, well, actually, there's nothing to do, or I'll swap a striker. So I'll do something, or I'll burn it. So essentially what you're doing is you're incentivizing rolling transfers for information, because if we give the optimization solver points for the next 6, 10, 12 weeks, then it's going to try and find a path that grabs as much protected points as possible. So it will do Mbomo to the player who's very slightly better this week, not next week. So what we want to do is we give a value to carrying it. So that's how we used to do it. James did a lot of calculations on how to value this week compared to next week, because we know that this week's points we're more certain of them. How to value how much you should forego to roll the transfer and do it next week if need be. And we were getting values of 1.5, and then change 1.5 to 2-ish. Which all changed when we got 5 transfers. So the way that we've done it now, because we're solving stochastically, is sort of stochastic optimization. We've talked about on other podcasts, but essentially it's planning for specific possible scenarios that might happen. So if I quickly close this, I can see my planning tree. So let's say I've got this Gameweek 16 one, and I might want to free hit in 17, or I might want to free hit in 18. I want to find the move this week that lets me be ready for that scenario and for that scenario and for this scenario. And assigning the value is just saying, I don't know what the scenarios are, but there are generically some. So just give me like an average, disruption probability case. How likely is it that I don't do the move that I want to do? Now, if you have to lock in your Game Week 17 moves now, how likely is it that you're wrong or you change your mind by then? So what we can do is we just kind of just assign this probability, and what it does is it will calculate how valuable it is to be in a position with 4 transfers, or in a position with 3, or in a position with 4, because having 4 transfers and using 1 each week, so you have 4 the next week, and so on and so on and so on, we should reward that over having 2 transfers and doing 1 each week, 1 each week, 1 each week, 1 each week, all else being equal. If the teams were the same, you want to be in the position where you have more transfers. They're valuable. You can use them for stuff. Even if it's not obvious, then, we want to go, okay, I want to have 4, I want to have 5. Obviously, not at the expense of making your team worse, but if the team's the same, you'd rather have more transfers. If I gave you 5 for free in Game Week 16, well, I suppose people aren't saying, yes, thank you, this, because everyone else gets them. So essentially what we do is, the way to think about it is 0 to 100% is kind of how... Are we using a kind of weather analogy here? So we've got clear skies, breezy, cloudy, foggy, stormy. So somewhere around 25 to 50% will essentially mean that if I do a solve with that disruption probability on it, it's not going to use all the transfers. It's going to only schedule in these high value ones. Whereas if I were to run a solve with clear skies, it's going to be really greedy. It's going to grab all the transfers. It's going to be like, okay, well, I don't need to wait because everything's going to be fine next week. So I'd recommend playing around essentially with a few different values, but somewhere between 25 and 50 is useful for, I'm building one scenario. I'm not putting my own specific ones in. The more you build in yourself, the less you need to rely on this. So it's kind of a balancing act that we're hoping people can play around with and give us some feedback on, but hopefully that explains a bit more clearly what the thinking is with this feature.
So I'm just going to try and summarize it in the layman terms that I've understood it.
Please.
So it's essentially you're building uncertainty because you never are able to do what you want in the future, right? Injuries happen, something else happens, double game weeks, postponements, weather-based stuff. So to say it's clear blue skies is, the model will just say nothing actually is going to happen. So everything will happen as you have planned today. It will use up any time you have a free transfer to grab even the smallest of expected value. The more uncertainty you bring, the more the model will be cautious about it. It'll ration transfers a little bit more. And of course, if you go 100%, it'll ration it even more because it's getting more paranoid, just like real life, that anything could happen. Injuries could happen, and so stuff like that. So my follow-up question to you in this is, so you're saying 25 to 50% is the right number in an average case where in the next 6 game weeks, there is no uncertainty that we can see. Like there's no FA Cup blank coming up, or there's no actually rounds that will determine there are some, every cup round determines something.
Sure, yeah.
But 25 to 50 would capture that. But how does this change? Let's say if you're sitting in game week 27 when your FA Cup quarterfinal is about to happen, or how would this change if you have certain players like Palmer in your team and you don't know how fit they are, and they could get injured a lot more, or more likely to get injured than a Haaland or a Bruno. So how would you think about that?
So I think the big scenarios that stochastic programming really does well with is those things like fixtures moving here or here, or so an FA Cup result is, we had it last season where it was like Liverpool or Spurs, and one of them will win and one of them will get a double in game week 25 and the other one will lose and they won't. And the Arsenal-Newcastle one was a bit different because if Newcastle won, then the game goes later and we didn't get it because they won. So you know that there are 2 scenarios that happen. Well, I mean, there was, 4. But let's say, let's pretend Arsenal, Newcastle didn't matter. It's Liverpool or Spurs. You know that Spurs get a double or Liverpool get a double, and those are the two scenarios. And they have quite different outcomes because if if Spurs get a double, you want Son, you want Kulusevski, you want whoever. Liverpool get a double. It was even more complicated because you probably want Slot with your assistant manager, or do you want a triple captain Salah or whatever. So planning for the specific scenarios is always better than doing this. So if you're able, if you know what the scenarios are, that one was easier because it was quite binary. But we do get some cup times where it's like, okay, there's like quarterfinals and the probabilities of games moving is moved, but nothing is actually confirmed yet. So we might know that Liverpool don't get a double or they have a high chance of getting one, but we don't know for sure. Building those scenarios can be a bit fiddlier. Something like Palmer might be back this week or this week or this week or this week, or things that are a bit more of a grayer area. That's where you might want to plan those a bit more. Yeah. So I think essentially, if I knew all the cup permutations and I was able to build all that out, I'd probably put clear skies or close to it on my disruption probability because I've already built the trees, the branches.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm just like, okay, I just know that there's some generic uncertainty, I don't have time to build them out, or I can't think of specific scenarios. So when I'm building mine, I often do it with Szoboszlai. He's got 4 yellow cards, so I know that missing this week or this week or this week will have an impact on what I want to do, but I don't know when he'll miss one. And I don't know when I'll find out, but I know once it's happened, it's done. He's not going to get to 10 yellows. Or he might get a red card when he comes back. That's what Paquetá did. So I think, in a normal week, normal line, I haven't built off any uncertainty myself. I'd say generally playing around in that 25 to 50% region is, I think also there's the reason that I recommend playing around is that there is no right answer. Like it's going to give you different suggestions, and maybe you can compare those suggestions and it might fit your play style. You might go, actually, I want to use all these transfers and I'm happy being in a spot where I've only got 1 or 2. So in this one, for example, we can see that with this was the 50% disruption probability. It's using 3 transfers to get Collins, Cunha, and Welbeck, and then it actually rolls a little bit. So it sets up for the next few weeks, and then it rolls back to 5 because it knows that being on 5 is useful, and then go and buy Foden over there. Whereas Clear Skies, it's using all 5 of my transfers in the next 2 weeks. It just gets the team it needs
That's a good illustration.
And then starts to go, okay, like I can make 1 or 2. But you might, if I do that, and then I get to here, and I've got some injuries, I don't have space to do Thiago to Welbeck and Virgil to Tarkowski, and I've got to start taking hits. It might be fine. Like, this might pan out like that. But even this week, getting to 17, I might have to do something different, or Cunha gets injured, or, stuff happens. So this one is like getting ready for, I don't know what's, I think paranoid it's kind of quite a nice way to, I hadn't thought of doing it that way. It sounds negative, but
it's
almost,
true, right? I mean, when we made our Game Week 1 team, right? I would argue that we should make it 50 to 75% because we are learning so much about the season. While we had players like Wirtz in our team that looked good, were projecting high, for players exactly like that at the beginning of the season, like I would say it's stormy a little bit. And maybe that's paranoid, like I said. But I would rather be cautious with that and then say, let me build a team that is a little bit cautious, because it's difficult to plan scenarios, right? Mm-hmm. Could you have planned a scenario where Liverpool would be absolute rubbish and Salah would be dropped from the team? You can't.
Yeah, no one would have thought Salah getting dropped at the start of the season.
People would be doing Salah to Bruno as the most essential move of Game Week 16. Like, it's just a scenario you cannot plan. So I think the earlier you are in the season, the more cautious you can be. It can be your play style as well. You can be one of those play styles where you go, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to be a little aggressive. I'm going to assume that it's clear skies. And if it changes, I'll change my plans. That's also fine. So it's really about how you manage, how you perceive the landscape. And one final question on this is, you talked about this whole distribution in terms of number of transfers that you have. So do I understand from this is that if I'm on 0 free transfers, let's say I've made my transfer this week, then I should assume Storm, at least I should run future solves with a Storm that now I'm really, really behind people, and they're on 4 or 5, I'm on 0. And vice versa, if I have 5 left, I should assume clearer skies because, hey, if things don't pan out, I still have 1 or 2 more in buffer.
So it doesn't apply to this week specifically. So if I say Stormy for the future, and I have 5 transfers now, it's still going to try and make some transfers this week to set up for the Stormy future. So it's kind of assuming that this week is known. Obviously, we don't know. And actually, sometimes you get things like the Man United Wolves odds will have moved by the Monday, even though the deadline was on the Saturday. So games later on in the game week, we have less certainty on and things like that. Well, we didn't know Man United had their press conference on the Wednesday. So we didn't hear till the Wednesday morning that Bruno, 2 players were a doubt and someone thought it was Bruno and everyone got paranoid. So for this week specifically, if I've said I've got 0 transfers, the hit it's going to take or not is not as linked to the future weeks as it might be. You're probably just going to roll unless your team's actually still in a mess. So the only way it would make a transfer differently is if it thinks it can't do it later. So it might do the transfer now because, okay, there's Stormy stuff coming up. I should just get my team set with this hit now. For example, Pope to Raya as a hit might be one that you just go, okay, I'm going to do it now because I know that there's stuff coming up. I know that I get transfers and I need to deal with it. So I would move it a little bit based on how many transfers you have. Obviously, everyone's got 5 now. So I think, if you're kind of flush with transfers, you could say, I'm better equipped to deal with the stuff that's coming up. But equally, there's still stuff that's going to come up. And actually, you might be able to get an advantage by holding more transfers through the storm than other people, because then the next storm, you're ready for that one. I wouldn't put too much weight on the state of your team now. I'd put more of it on what's coming up.
The future to be.
Yeah, but I think this is a way of thinking about how to use your transfers in general that we've tried to build into the tool. I think this is something I'd encourage people to start thinking about. Anyway, as you mentioned at the start of the season, there's more uncertainty on how teams are going to set up. There's weeks where, we've got quite a congested schedule now. So that's maybe like a slightly heightened uncertainty compared to the period where, we weren't having midweeks with Champions League all the time and we had an international break, which was giving some players a bit of a rest or more time to recover. Some of them are flying halfway around the world. But yeah, I think of it as like how complicated is the upcoming schedule going to be for my team? How tricky is it going to be to navigate? And again, I'd recommend playing around and see, because sometimes there's just some really obvious moves to make, and actually, whether it's stormy or breezy, that's just the moves you should make this week. I think you're mostly focusing on what to do this week. So actually, these 2 moves, obviously, this one's setting up being a bit greedier, but the only difference here is that I'm doing Welbeck instead of Mark Guiu. So the change is not very much. So all I've got to think about is, do I want Mark Guiu? Is that worthwhile taking money out? Or is it worthwhile to have that 15th player, etc.? But yes, any questions?
No, but this is a good point.
To reach out.
Yeah. I think the way I think about it when I do a solve where I want to get different ideas, and this is for people who use it just to see, what are the paths that they're trying to get, is I tend to think of 2 quadrants. One, you can play around with this, horizon in terms of uncertainty, and you can play around with risk, and you can see what kind of things you're getting, right? I mean, if you go clear blue skies and I want to take a lot of risk, maybe it'll say, hey, sell Haaland for Palmer. But if it's, lot of stormy weather and I want to be risk averse, then it's just going to buy you, the safe, robust, high EO picks. So I think that's how people can play around with this, just to understand what are the types of different players or different transfer paths that they're getting based on those. And this isn't even getting into the whole stochastic side of things where you can actually plan for some uncertainty yourself. So
yeah, and
very useful.
The charts and the info are meant to help. I know for some people they're a bit off-putting, but it's meant to just be, an aiding hand of I don't want to build these different paths. Can you just kind of add that noise and uncertainty for me, which it helps with. I think a lot of people were getting suggestions like this that were a bit greedy and thinking that actually, I'm not sure about that. So if you just maybe even if you're just running a solve and you're like, oh, the solution looks a bit too greedy to me, you can just move it. Oh, it's rolling loads of transfers and I reckon that there's, I might want to try and get this guy. You can just bring it down. So you can often do it in response to whatever solutions come out.
What you're getting.
Cool. Yeah, fun.
So that's all that we wanted to talk about in terms of the features. We're recording on a Tuesday night, and we've had a few penalties. I just want to make sure, have we updated our Szoboszlai pen shares? I mean, you're a Szoboszlai owner.
I am. Let me check.
He took a pen tonight, but Isak wasn't on the pitch. So what are we saying now? So Salah is still on it, but he's going to leave.
Actually, you mentioned that we might do a live demo, and then I said, actually, I think they've updated it literally immediately already.
They've already updated it. Very
can't
quick.
promise we're as immediate with updates as that all the time. I think Salah, I mean, we don't know when he plays, but if he were to play, I think he still would be the guy who takes the penalties if he comes back from Africa and he's playing. So, yeah, we've put him at the
minutes,
top.
We can assume tier 2 is just tier 1.
Kinda, yeah. I think it's useful to actually see how this filters down. So Salah with low minutes, like you can see actually he's getting less penalties, less of Liverpool's penalties than we're giving to Szoboszlai, who's getting more than Isak because they're on the same share of tier 2. We've given them 45 each now. But Szoboszlai plays all the time and Isak doesn't. Ekitike gets it. And then I think McAllister's got a good record. He might even have taken one for Liverpool.
He was on the pitch though tonight.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fine to put it at 10, but I think that's conservative.
You reckon that to be even?
I mean, if you're on the pitch, right, and you are the penalty taker with an excellent record, you step up and say, I'm going to take the pen. So if Szoboszlai has taken the pen, when McAllister is on the pitch, I see no...
You reckon McAllister down here?
I would put him tier 3, I would Sobo and Isak 50-50 or something.
Let's do that.
Or if you wanted to be conservative, you can say Isak was the pen taker at Newcastle on a same minutes basis. Maybe Isak can be 60, Sobo can be 40, but the outcome would probably be that they're 50-50 because Sobo gets more minutes.
Well, spot on, as you said, actually. If you give Isak 60 and Szoboszlai 40, they get the same amount of penalties
I think that feels
as each
right.
other. Obviously, if I just start dropping Salah down, then they get more of them. If Salah gets all of his tier 1, then a bit. But again, as they change the minutes. Yeah, so that's how to sort of play around with them. I think people have used this before. But yes, we had Kudus as well. He took one. And then Kudus took what? There was all sorts of complicated ones.
Simmons also took one, but Kudus had gone off.
He'd gone off. Richarlison had gone off as well.
Yes.
I still think, I don't know if Dom Solanke is alive. But
no idea. I was thinking about him the same.
He was taking penalties before that. Like, I presumably is the penalty taken when he's back. This is another one. You can see Solanke's got way down. We've got our most. He's not fallen out with the manager like.
This is also updated very quick.
Can't promise this every time, but yeah, people were getting excited in the Solio channel. I was interrupted by Pras saying, "Oh, we should do it live," and I was like, "I think they've done it. They've stolen our thunder.
They've already done it." Well, we changed it further. We should tell Robin team.
Okay.
We have decided to take McAllister out of tier 2.
We've made it better, but I think this is perfect. It's like actually, this is why my model will be different to yours, and the decisions are all different. And actually, even using the same tool, you get different solutions. Maybe I think Szoboszlai he's really good. I'm gonna say he's gonna take them. Let's see what does that do to his. Oh, he's the 5th best player. If you do that,
better than Foden. The world is not ready.
Maybe I'll go and reset it. We'll go back to our defaults. Not quite as
Have
good
we made Liverpool rubbish yet? No.
Do you want me to do that? I can make them. Yeah. Still pretty good. Still up here.
Chelsea right now. Yeah.
Odin Cunha, all sorts. Anyway, this is all the fun. This is what I do.
This
is what I do in my spare time. Free hit.
Free hit 16 is a popular week. A lot of people who didn't free hit in 13. The logic was you can get on Liverpool, who play Brighton. You can avoid potentially Man City, who are away to Crystal Palace, a team that just churns out clean sheets. And even if they don't churn out clean sheets, their defenders score goals and get assists like anything. So it's just a difficult fixture. And
is Mark Gahey the top scoring defender now? Did I get that right?
He is. Probably is. He's ruined the whole thing. With the whole DEFCON vibe and everything. I don't know, man. It's like he's the Chris Wood of last year is what I would say.
It just keeps getting goals.
There is no logic. I will not be buying him, but he will keep scoring points. I think that's where we are with Gahey.
I think that's with the Palace defenders. Once you've got one, you're like, well, I'm not going to swap. I'm not going to do Lacroix to Gahey. That's not. I know I've got 5 transfers, but that still feels like a bit of a waste. Maybe on the wild card, I'll go the other way and Lacroix will start scoring. But yes, so we've got our free hit frontiers again. Thank you to James for solving this.
So this is the highest possible with points, forgetting about risk, right? That's the first one that we're looking at.
So just as a quick reminder, if this is your first free hit frontier, welcome. Essentially what we do is we solve the free hit 16, and actually if you use an optimization model, you can solve just purely like, I just want the top projected points. That might change depending on your own beliefs. That's why you can tinker with it and go, actually, maybe I don't like this player, or I think Arsenal are better, or vice versa. So that will be the top one based on that. But actually, every free hit team also has an amount of risk, relative risk. So the standard deviation of risk relative to everyone else's team. So we project effective ownership based on the current ownership and what we think people will do, how many people will free hit. So if you pick a team that is very different, but projecting almost as many points, then your relative outcomes to the field have got a lot wider. You might beat them by a lot, you might lose by a lot, but you're going, okay, I'm sacrificing a bit of total points to have a higher chance of getting 100 points or whatever. And the same the other way.
Example,
you can be safer. Yeah.
Perfect example was Gameweek 13. Like, we showed a free hit that was high risk, high return.
Very high risk. And it had no Haaland, right?
And that
triple City defense.
It had no Haaland, exactly.
But Haaland did blank. Yeah. He doesn't always blank.
It turned out.
Yeah.
As it turned out in Gameweek 14, people found out if you go high risk, you don't captain Haaland, or you don't have Haaland, it can also work the other way. So you've been warned in terms of, risk comes both ways.
Be careful, yeah. But I think it's important that you know that it always comes both ways. Like, the only way to increase your chance of getting a really high score is to also increase your chance of getting a really low score. Like, sadly, you can't have one without the other.
Doesn't work.
But yes, this is our top sort of just anything else. I guess Szoboszlai, I don't know if this was pre or post penalties, but he's in there. So it's, I mean,
let's read the team just for people, just in terms of players who are sort of, I guess Arsenal Triple F is the most obvious thing on all of them, but we've got Raya, Timber, and Saka from Arsenal.
Yep.
We've got the Man United midfield duo of Bruno and Mbeumo. We've got only one Liverpool, which is surprising, Szoboszlai, which is also not surprising given how they're doing. Like, ideally, Salah would be Salah, and you'd have probably Thiago and Salah instead of Dango and Haaland in this case, which would be a natural increase of risk without sacrificing a lot. So that's just where we are. And it's a 4 at the back: Anderson, Collins, Chalobah, the only Chelsea representative. Again, sad for free hitters in 16 that they can't punt on a Palmer. Because when I made this draft back in Game Week 12, a hopeful, wishful draft, I was thinking, oh man, no Haaland, just Thiago up top. Have Palmer, have Salah, have Bruno, have Saka. What a midfield that would be.
Yeah, there was a nice way to
unfortunately
go against Haaland and get some power midfielders, but sadly they're not all playing. Well, 2 of them have gone missing.
Exactly.
I mean, Palmer's back. I know he played 58 minutes and then wasn't in the squad tonight, but I probably wouldn't chance it. No, I mean, I think he will. I think he will start and he will play 60, 70 minutes. But I think there's a chance that he doesn't do either of those, and I don't think there's a chance at all that he plays 90. So you've only really got downside on that one. But yeah, I mean, triple Arsenal seems pretty straightforward. I think if you're a bit more sure on, I mean, the Wolves' attacking threat is low. Like, there's a reason the clean sheet potential is so high for best defense against one of the worst attacks. But I think if you were a bit more sure on an Arsenal attacker, you might be able to sort of maybe swap Raya out and put like a Gyökeres or a Marino if you have a say on which one of those is playing, or an Eze or someone like that. Or I don't know, it might be Madueke comes in. So I think you could easily like take Raya out for Kelleher or Leno or something like that. And you could even get not Calafiori. He's suspended. Lewis Skelly, get another defender. You can tweak around with this. And actually, there will be lots of teams that are really close to this team, both in projected points and standard deviation. This is just the one that this version of the model is putting out top. This will be different by Friday. But structurally, it'll be very similar. I don't think we're going to suddenly see Haaland drop out or triple Arsenal defence and no Saka unless his minutes are low. But yeah, I mean, it's Arsenal think Brentford against Leeds is a reasonable bet. I know Collins has been hitting a lot of DEFCONs. That's what boosts him up. Same with Anderson against Burnley. Maybe that's not a DEFCON friendly a fixture. And I know people are quite low on Fulham defence. But again, there's another options. You could get another Chelsea defender if you think that they're going to play, or not sure who else. Well, you go double Brentford defence. But maybe if we dial the risk up a little bit, we can see, we've got double Brentford defence.
Yes.
This is
so those
Palmer.
that haven't noticed that red dot has now shifted a little bit south, so not too much, but quite a lot more, a lot more east. So yes.
So we've got two defensive double ups now. So we've got Kelleher and Collins, and then we've got Hincapié and Timber. And we know that defensive double ups are a good way to increase your chance of getting. I need 3 teams to keep a clean sheet to get 5 clean sheets here, whereas I could make a team with 5 different defenses, and I'm less likely to get all 5. I'm also less likely to get none. But doubling up, you increase the chance of getting lots or none. We have dropped Haaland, so there are Haaland ways if you believe in Palmer minutes.
Isak and Palmer minutes. I think that's the big call on this one.
Isak's the one, yeah.
Fundamentally, that's the big difference. Yeah.
Yes. So we've swapped out Szoboszlai and Haaland for Palmer and Isak. So I think you need to believe in Palmer minutes. You need to believe in. I mean, Isak and Ekitike both started today.
But Isak got subbed off earlier. So I think both Palmer and Isak look good for a start. It's whether they make 60, 70 minutes or more. This is a question no one can answer. So it's up to your beliefs.
Yeah. And then if we push it a bit further, what's this one? Here we are. No Saka. Triple Arsenal defence. So this is Raya Hincapié. This is Timber captain. I have heard a few people talking about Timber being high-ish up.
Yeah, he's not. He may not play right back is the problem. He will play right centre back.
But then DEFCON.
He did DEFCON
set pieces.
He did DEFCON.
It's not like he's. I mean, people wanted to. I know Gabriel was a centre back with attacking threat from set pieces, which was through the roof. But Timber at home to Wolves, that much different to Gabriel? People wanted.
Interesting. We're not high on Thiago much because I don't see it's every time just one striker. And it's not Thiago.
I think Dango does okay for some of the DEFCON sometimes. And he's also, his minutes are much more secure because Shada's suspended. So he's like much more likely to play the full 90.
And they'll run him to the ground and send him off to Africa.
Well, yeah, see you later. And the clean sheet point probably comes in a little bit as well. I know Brentford defence isn't super good, and Leeds have actually looked kind of okay recently, but I think that's probably but again, you can have your own sway. I'm sure Dango to Thiago is 0.1, 0.2, sort of negligible, but
triple Man United
mids. Are you free hitting this week?
For the bold.
Is this your draft?
No, I free hit it.
Oh, you did? Yeah, because Pope got injured. I forgot. I knew you were eyeing this one up. You teased everyone again. Wildcard 13, free hit 16.
In both of them, the common theme was bloody Salah. Like they were both meant to be target Liverpool, and both were let down from Liverpool. Like this free hit now is a lot weaker. Like I was thinking Liverpool early kickoff, possible, sometimes Anfield Express and some other people. Imagine Salah, Isak, Gakpo starting. Like that's a beautiful free hit. And then you go against Haaland and you do all the other stuff. I'm not going to go back and say why I did certain things, but blame Salah, not me.
Okay, very well. I mean, you can build a really pretty good free hit draft this week without any Liverpool if you wanted to.
You can, of course.
I mean, you can still put them in, and I'm still happy to have them. I think they'll do well against Brighton, but yes, we've got a bit more Chelsea as well. We've got double Chelsea defence here, Cucurella and Chalobah. I think it's partly because they're a bit less owned. I don't know. I don't think Brentford defence is super popular, but a few people have got a Collins or a Vandenberg from. When did they play Burnley? Gameweek 13. If you didn't free hit in 13, you might have picked up a Brentford defender and you've still got one hanging around. So actually, almost no one has a Chelsea defender. So the ownership's a bit different. But we can also take this the other way. We can go for a safer one. And this will partly depend on the projected ownership. So actually, the sample we're going against here is the Solio Analytics Mini League. So I know in the overall sample that Joachim Andersen is the one I'm pointing out here. He's very high in certain samples, but quite low in other samples. So he's a safe. Well, I mean, he's a very good bet here because they're playing Burnley, but he's a safer bet here because if you're trying to be safe against the sample we've
The
solved it
Solio
against,
League.
which is, it's a mixture. It's a lot of good managers, and they're not all super analytics heavy. They'll have their own biases in there, as they should. But I think, if you were thinking of a safer draft against your mini league, you might be going, okay, well, actually, Anderson isn't someone that my friends own. But it's got most of what we want. So we've got Raya, we've got Timber, we've got Saka. It captains Haaland over Saka because we're predicting Haaland to be more popular. I noticed that the sentiment's shifting on that a little bit because he blanked last week and Wolves were particularly bad, and maybe we'll see how Saka does tomorrow in the Champions League. Thiago's in this one, more popular as well. I was 4.6 we've got him at, and Dango was 5.0, so quite close.
Not much in it, but safer.
Yeah, Bruno and Bomo don't have the third Man United mid. Elliot Anderson, the other Anderson.
This is my team.
Is this your team? Perfect. Virgil, Timber, Collins.
I mean,
yeah.
Instead of Collins, I'll have Minte, and instead of Mbumo, I'll have Foden. But that's my team.
Okay, well there you go. You can free it into Praz's team, but slightly better.
Yes.
Exactly. So again, you see the dot at the top has moved to the left. So it has come down. It's probably come down about as much as the slightly riskier one has, but we've decreased our chance of having a bad week compared to the sample. So we're going, okay, like I'm going to make my team really good, but make sure that it kind of aligns with some of the threats. So we saw the really risky one was captaining Timber and having no Haaland and no Saka. Like, if Haaland and Saka do well, which they probably will, but they don't always.
Yeah.
We see players blank. In the event that Haaland and Saka blank, you're smashing it. You're off. Like even not that many returns. Like Arsenal clean sheet, Haaland blank, Saka blank. Like you've won already.
Blank.
Whereas this one, you're going, okay, Haaland, Saka, I need to cover. I'm going to do well when Anderson gets a goal and not everyone's on him, and when we see we've got 4 different defenses here, so you're going to get maybe 2 or 3 clean sheets rather than aiming at a potential 5. You might get 5. It happens. Although there was one week where I think we had 1 clean sheet in the whole league, and it was Sunderland. So you might get a week like that. Is there much you change? Are there any players you think you like haven't seen them in any?
I mean, if you're in the safe world, then I have Foden instead of Mbumo. Now, this is not me trying to make, but I just think Foden's ownership, just reflective of the fact that it's risen 0.6 in price in the last 7 days or something crazy like that.
And he's still going up.
Must imply that the engaged crowd that you're trying to play safe against, if you were in a safe sort of frontier, then I think you need to cover Foden. So I'd have him over Mbumo possibly, or even Bruno. Like because Bruno's ownership is not as high as Mbumo's. So, but actually, if you remove Bruno, then the expected points will come down significantly.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably the one that's like even further. I haven't got that one to the left of this one.
But Mbumo to Foden should not lose you too much, but get you a lot safer.
That would be a small drop. I think someone like Foden's probably another one. I don't know if there's anyone else who's... I don't track the ownership super closely. I kind of like let the solver do it for me. So I'm not sure if there's anyone specific. I guess people have... I know Nico O'Reilly was quite popular. I don't think he's been picked up too much.
He's not. I mean, he's popular, but I think his ownership is going to spike further next week.
It was the free hit as well. Like everyone free hit him rather than buying him. But I mean, it looks pretty strong. I don't think there's any... I have got the odds here. Are there any other fixtures you might want to attack? Like it's this Arsenal game, isn't it? 2.71 goals, 57% clean sheet.
I'm surprised looking at Newcastle's numbers, actually. I mean, it is Sunderland. I mean, I know Sunderland are a lot better. It's a derby.
Careful.
I thought Newcastle would be slightly higher.
I mean, it's away. What other excuses can I think of? No, I mean, we'll have played we play Leverkusen. I find it funny when people do that, and then I do it myself. Me, the Newcastle fan. Leverkusen tomorrow on Wednesday, and then I guess it's Sunday, and obviously Sunderland have the midweek off. But I don't know.
Sunderland have been better. I get it.
Yeah,
and you guys have not been great
strong.
away from home.
Newcastle attack's not been super potent. Away from home has been very different to at St James's Park. I mean, we might see these move, I think. I don't know. Because Sunderland, I'm not expecting them to specifically drop off a cliff, but like they've still got all their players before they all go to AFCON this week. So they are like pretty much full strength. They've started playing this back five as well. That's working quite well for them. Because I think actually I'm getting suggestions of starting Mukiele in my team. And I think my decision this week is whether to play Mukiele and roll at my other transfer, or whether to buy. Well, it might be a Timber or someone like that. So actually,
good segue. Good
big
segue.
decision. Should we come to my team? Do you want us to start with mine?
Yep, let's do it.
How have I got my team? This is fine. I'll make a new branch just so we've got a fresh team. Actually, I'll do this demo.
There you go.
Yeah, so I've got a free hit left, which I'm not going to play this week. I think there were instances where I played it this week, and then I used my transfers in 17, which is partly what I thought about last week. But I think it was something like, if Bosley got a suspension and was out this week, then I could free hit him out and come back to him. And maybe if I thought that Palmer was someone that was going to be available in 17 or 18 to be a good buy early. I even nearly looked at buying Palmer last week. I thought that was a bit, and then I thought, I'm up too late. I'm being a bit reckless. I'll sleep on it and not do that.
You did save some money in your wildcard to get Palmer at some point. Remember that? Game week 4 or whatever.
Yes, yeah. And it's finally come good in game week 16.
Finally you've used it, you see?
Finally used all my money.
It was the 19th branch, which you have now realized.
And what I'm going to do actually is I am actually going to take money out of my team to have some money in the bank because I love it so much. So what I did last week, I had 3 transfers last week, and I couldn't really work out what to do because I know I'd kind of saved them a little bit for like, okay, I'm going to pivot and figure it out. And there was a chance I was going to free hit in 14 or 15, and then I'd use all of them in one of the other weeks, and I decided not to do that. So in the end, what I did is I sold Mateta for Walter Marder. I sold Ndiaye. I sold him a bit early. I think I'd rather have played him in game week 15, but because my transfer was going to expire, I was like, okay, Ndiaye is going to be sold this week or next week for someone, but I have a transfer to make a bet on Gordon. So I'll use the transfer to buy Gordon, and then I can sell Gordon instead of Ndiaye. And I bought Livramento. Who did I sell for that? That was Senesi? No, it could not be Senesi. I think I already had lost Senesi. Can't remember who I sold for Livramento. Someone else.
Delict.
Delict. Delight. Yes. Delict. Matthijs Delight. Whatever his name
Man
is.
United picks treated you the same way. Newcastle picked.
I've had horrid luck with my centre backs. This is how it works. I've had Bafodi Diakite early on in the season who disappeared. I had Delict who
just need to pick good X minutes, Johnny. What can I say?
Well, Delict had played 90 minutes every game.
I'm kidding.
How dare you? No, I'm getting very defensive here. So I think he was one who I thought, well, we don't know when he's back. Like, he's good if I can keep him, but I'll just move him on. So I thought, actually, I'll just kind of not free hit, but like use my 3 transfers to attack game week 15. I got on triple Newcastle, which not everyone was going to be get onto unless they free hit. Gordon, sadly, the only one who came in. But what it also did is I could see that in game week 16, a lot of people are going to be on a team that's kind of like has nothing to do, or there was a risk that they had nothing to do. There was a chance that you go, okay, I'm going to set my team up that it's ready for 16, and I'll use my 1 transfer on whatever issue comes up. But it's possible that no issues came up. And this was almost planning the other way of going like, I don't want to get in a position where I've got 5 transfers and nothing to do, and I have to kind of do my destructive stuff early. So I'll do that a little bit in 15. And I don't want to use all 3. All 5. But basically, I bought the Newcastle guys intending to sell them straight away. So I ran the risk slightly of, okay, I've got those 3 transfers to move on at some point, and maybe I get another issue on top of that. So maybe Szoboszlai got suspended. But also, if that happened, I've got my free hit. If I use slightly more than the 5 transfers that I want to, not the end of the world. I just need to be a bit more steady after that, but I can kind of do a big chunk all at once. But when I'm using them, I can do some transfers that have the intention of then rolling back to 5 quickly, rather than using 4 transfers to make fixes on places I've been greedy and being greedy with the replacements, if that makes sense. So Gordon and Walter Marder are almost certainly going because there's so many good options in midfield. And I think Walter is probably going to go to Mark Guiu. I know I showed the solves earlier where it was sort of Guiu or Welbeck. I think Welbeck, it just makes a lot of sense to actually have. Mark Guiu might even start at the weekend.
He could, but you just never know.
No, he's never one that
unless
I'm
Maresca
like,
comes
I'm
out
gonna
and says
play him.
he's going to
Yeah.
start.
Yes.
Exactly.
But there's a non-zero chance that he becomes a regular starter, in which case, great. I've got a really cheap forward who isn't not useful. But I think actually if I can move that money into midfield to either be ready to get to Parma in a few weeks, I think actually Chelsea's fixture run from maybe it's going to be 18 or so looks really nice. I don't have to get on them then, but I can get them a bit later. I think midfield is where I kind of want the money. I want Haaland, I want Thiago. The Walter is almost certainly going to come Mark Guiu. I almost went straight to Guiu last week. That was one of my what transfers do I make to get ahead of 16? But then I would get to 16,
would have worked out, yeah.
having done my Game Week 16 transfers in 15, and then I'd have nothing to do. So that's why I punted on Walter, who did nothing, sadly. But so then I've got Gordon to... Well, I could go straight to Parma. I've got enough for Parma if I want to. Or Cunha or Foden, probably, because I've got Szoboszlai, who's the player that everyone wants now. He's on penalty. I've got Bruno. I've got Saka for captain this week. Might be someone I move on later. I think I was hoping that I could leave this Parma route open. If Parma played 90 off the bat and then was involved midweek off the bench and just sort of looks good to go, and actually he almost was ready a few weeks ago, but they've held him back just to bring him in. That was possible, but unlikely. Then I'm straight off. I can go get Palmer. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Cunha rather than Foden, because I'm hoping to free hit next week. So when City play West Ham next week, I can free hit Foden in and then basically go against Foden. I'm not saying I think Cunha is way better than Foden. And actually, he's quite frustrating to watch. I was watching the Man United Wolves game.
He was dodging a lot of points.
Yes, but if I believe in analytics, lots of shots, lots of involvement is usually signal of future returns more than it is of this guy's rubbish. If he wasn't getting involved, I'd be more worried. I'd be like, maybe his role's not working, and it's going to be different with no Mbomo and no Ahmad. It's taking a bit of risk there. But this is kind of what happened last season, is he was doing this, but the goals were all going in. It was a bit different because he was playing for Wolves and it was a separate system. But if we think back to how he was playing, he was just taking all these shots and he was just scoring them.
He can overperform, for sure.
There's a chance that he can just go on this run. Foden's playing really well. I'm not saying I don't want Foden. This is the sort of big stance people are taking on, the models are saying Cunha's better than Foden. And so, well, actually, I mean, even on the projections, I think it's pretty close. If not, Foden's still ahead of Cunha. But this week, I'll have him already on the free hit.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I were to take that week out, Cunha's ahead. I think actually seeing that he can play centre forward, I think Mount has been playing quite well. I quite like to see Mount play in that attacking mid role and Cunha further forward. So I think he makes more sense longer term, because I know that he's going to play. He's been playing a lot even now, but his minutes go up through AFCON, whereas I think Marmoush is the only attacker that's away for City. So I don't expect Foden to not be playing, he's playing so well. But we have seen in the past that Pep just goes, I don't like that he's playing now. I'm going to drop him. So I don't think that's going to happen, but that's kind of the bet I'm taking, is that Foden's not good. And if he proves to be really good, I can buy him in 18 or 19 or 20, and I just have lost a lot of money on not getting him early. So that's the general plan. Those are the two moves that I'm probably going to do. So then the decision is, I've got Raya, Virgil, Anderson, and Mukiele is my fourth defensive player, who's projecting okay. Livramento is not one I need to sell immediately, but Livramento to a Collins looks quite nice. I think that's one that I'd probably wait on because, one, Collins is on 4 yellows, but I think he looks really good longer term as a guy who's just going to play. He got rested midweek, but he played every minute last season. He was the only outfielder to do it. Or I can get Timber and get my triple Arsenal, get my double Arsenal defence. I don't think everyone can get to that. And then I've got my choice of a free hit 17, have 3 transfers in 18. And hopefully nothing to do, but probably want to get on like a Tarkovsky. I think he's quite popular and someone I think would be good longer term as well. Get on these sort of like, if I go to the projections, these big defenders, you can see like, so Timber's up at the top, but once I've had him this week, let's go 18. Tarkovsky's at the top. Virgil
really good, yeah.
might get to Gabriel eventually. I'll have Lacroix. I'll have, I might have Collins. And then I'll have like Mukiele is a bit cheaper, but I could eventually move him on if I've got the money from Guy. And then I should have the sort of powerful midfielders as well. So that's the thinking. So the decision mostly is, I'll still rethink Cunha Foden. Like I might end up, there's a chance I free hit an 18. I think that sometimes works. I think it works if Szoboszlai specifically gets his 5th yellow in game week 17. But I kind of can't not free hit knowing, well, I need him to get it now.
When he'll get it.
Which would be great. But I don't know. I don't think I can sway it that much.
It's tricky. I mean, the Man United perspective I'll give you is Cunha's minutes will be good.
Yeah.
The only little bit of a wild card is, of course, Mbumo's going. Ahmad is going. Mm-hmm. That right-hand side, who's going to play on the right-hand side? So Mount plays in the same position as Cunha.
Yep.
As long as Sesko is out. Because if Sesko is out, then Cunha plays up top, Mount plays on the left, Mbumo played on the right. This is how we were set up against Wolves.
Sure.
If Mbumo leaves, now there's also talk today that Sesko is going to be back for Bournemouth. He'll be on the bench, but he'll definitely be ready to start, or not definitely, but he should be ready to start from the game weeks after that. So let's assume Sesko is back starting. Mount, if he plays on the left, then Cunha moves a little bit to the right. How does his role change, his goal output? It's a little bit of a question mark, but I think generally speaking, his numbers are good option, and I think he should get his chance.
As long as he's the one who plays on the right there. I think what I was worried you were going to say was that Cunha comes out of the team and the front three is Šeško, Mount and Xerxes or something. And I'll be like, you're spooking me off here. But if he's playing on the right and he's not as good, then I'm like, well, he's still on the pitch.
If anything, Sesko coming back from an injury, so Xerxes will come on for Sesko.
Yeah.
Mount still doesn't play 90 minutes or struggles to play 90 minutes. So if he comes off, then, Menu comes on or something like that. So there are options for those guys. There's literally nobody for Cunha because Mount was the guy who used to come on for Cunha.
Yeah.
So
but he needs to play now.
Just where we are.
I mean, there was talk of Bruno maybe playing one of the front three, but then
Nah,
I don't know. I'd rather have him at DM.
I think
he's better there.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, even though the fans will say it, but it's one of those things where the fans don't beware of the fans, because fans will say, yeah, of course, play Menu in centre midfield and play Bruno up top, solves everything. But Amorim has tried it.
He
has
played
said it doesn't
Menu
work.
as one of the front three at one point. I think
he did.
At one point.
So it's more likely
it might even be that
Menu comes on for Mount on the one of the front three, and Bruno just stays where he is. And that's just you have to be comfortable. As we've had a lot of new Bruno owners.
Yes,
because he did well. So welcome to the new Bruno owners. Yeah. He will not play in the front tee. You have to be comfortable with
but it doesn't matter because he's good anyway. I was just thinking who else I could get, because I think Foden would be the obvious one if I was just trying to play it safe and just be like, well, everyone's going to have him on. He's good anyway. I know I'm free hitting next week, but he's good anyway. But I think I don't see him as far and away the best asset for this kind of price. So I would quite like to try and pick someone else.
It's a little bit of an overhyped scenario, right?
Yeah,
where it's
he's very good. There's no one saying he's terrible. But I was just looking at Kudus might pop up if he's on pens. So I could look elsewhere. I don't think Wirtz is one I'd want to pick up specifically, but maybe.
Gakpo injury is a little frustrating because he would have been a good option.
Yeah, I think I had him in a few solves earlier. So I might do some scouting, see if I can find anything more interesting, which normally leads me to actually the guy I thought of first is the best guy. But you're more sure of it. It's useful to know, even if you buy the first one that you tried on. Absolutely. But that's the plan. Yeah, and then. Well, we can talk captaincy once we get to your team, but I've got it on Saka at the minute.
Look, captaincy is on Saka, man. Not only is it now almost 1 point difference, so even forget about projected points. Even if you use the good old eye test to make your decisions, which is nothing wrong with people doing that if they want to, Wolves are so bad. Wolves are terrible. So
I
you're
think
saying Crystal Palace away versus Wolves at home?
what really convinced me as well was actually when I was doing these, I can edit the like minutes distributions. So if I say like I just think Haaland's going to play all the minutes, I sometimes do this with a captaincy decision of like put a scenario in that might happen rather than the sort of probability. So let's say Haaland plays all the minutes and Saka, I reckon, like, I mean, we're assuming he's going to start. Like maybe we hear he doesn't start. But let's say he definitely gets to 60 minutes and just he comes off. I know that he's subbing off at some point. Then like the gap is still half a point. So I need Salah to come off at 60, 70 minutes and Haaland to play the full game. And then I'd still need to go and go like, actually, I think Man City's attack is even better than we've got it really rated highly, and Arsenal's defense's attack is even worse. Or, you know, am I really going to move Wolves' defense up? And then I do all of that, and I'm like, well, it's still 0.2 ahead. So, like, yeah, I think there was just because that was the concern. I thought actually, sometimes when there's this close call, I have sided with the Haaland minutes over the potential risk engagement of the other captain, which is easy with Bruno because, well, apart from the scare last week, because I do think Saka's got a risk of coming off, but I don't see it pre-60. I don't think it'd be like we saw some halftime subs at the weekend, but I don't see him being one of those ones.
Look, they've lost in the league. If you're doing a minutes thing for Saka, they've lost in the league. City are breathing down their necks. They're 5-on-5 in the Champions League. You know, we're putting obviously before they play. There's a chance he doesn't even start the Champions League game, right? He's just essentially rested. Now, Wolves at home isn't a fixture that he needs to be rested for. So maybe he does start and comes off 50, 60, 70th minute, which will spook people off. Oh, Saka's getting subbed off now every game on the 60th, 70th minute. But I think it's worth taking on, especially because many people now. I think Saka will be popular. I think on YouTube, Saka will be popular this week. Yeah. Unlike Bruno was in 14, but I think still, if you're thinking of EO, Haaland's going to be 150, 160 easy, and Saka's going to be 50, 60. So you just have to go for it. Like even if they were equal, like it just makes sense to go for it.
Yeah, and I think. I mean, I know Bruno is still projecting quite high, but I guess if I thought maybe Saka's going to be really popular amongst the managers that I want to try and beat, as well as the overall ownership. So let's say I think the overall ownership is going to be popular on Haaland, and my rivals are going to be popular on Saka, and maybe I want to go for Bruno in that instance. I just don't think he's close enough, really. But I think that's what I might do if I saw that, like, the YouTubers were more popular with Saka, and I thought actually like a lot of my analytics leagues, you know, they're mostly be on Saka, and there's a third alternative that I had, then I might go for it. But I'm still pretty confident on Saka, and I think there's enough chances to sort of do different elsewhere, and that's my plan. But we'll see. I haven't checked the running order. I'm not sure if Saka will blank before Haaland plays, and then we'll have all the hindsight takes.
I try not even to look at it, so it doesn't influence me.
I've got your team up. Yes, so we've got.
Okay, so my team is Raya, safe free hit plus Minter, exactly. Raya, Timber, Virgil, and Anderson. So the back four that essentially you could get to if you got Timber. So happy with it this week. Hopefully Palace doesn't punish me. Every single week Palace defense punishes me. I'm just like, I'm done, man. Like with every fiber of my being, I'm trying not to get on Palace defense now because I just feel like I can take them on, but it doesn't work out. So for now, I will not. And in fact, even in the future, I'm thinking about it. I'd rather go Tarkowski in 2 weeks than back to Lacroix or Munoz or anyone. But that's for the future. Midfield is where I'm not as happy because, I mean, Saka, Bruno, and Foden are fine. But Minte away to Liverpool, not as great. And Anderson home to Spurs is okay. So I would rather have better midfielders. Maybe not this week. But, eventually if I had Szoboszlai or Semenyo next week who's home to Burnley, I think that's where I was exploring that route. And Mateta went for Thiago Sunday night. So that was already done a long time ago.
I'll do that one.
So I've got two options. One is just to roll because team's fine. It's, it'll be nice to go into next week with 4 free transfers. And
you'd have 5 if you rolled.
I would have 5. Correct. Sorry.
Yeah. You've got no chips
next
left, right?
week. I've got no chips.
Okay,
left.
yeah.
Next week, O'Reilly definitely comes in, and I was thinking actually getting rid of Timber. So I see a lot of people getting Timber, but I think in terms of defenders that I want to own, if I take this week out, and you just did that with your analysis on, Timber actually falls fairly down not fairly down, but pretty down, and he's now 5.6.
Yeah.
If I take that money, turn him into an O'Reilly, I take that
6.5
money.
price? Is that what you want? Yeah.
He's 6.5, but my
Yes.
sale prices would be like 6.2.
Oh, I see.
I take that money, turn him into O'Reilly. I could then make Anderson into Semenyo next week.
Okay. Yeah.
So that would be a 1 week aggressive move just to get Semenyo for a week, and then turn Semenyo into Soboslai the week after because he's got Wolves at home and Leeds at home.
Right.
That would have been Gakpo,
Chaining
and I
all
would have
his
loved
moves.
it to be Gakpo. Yeah, but you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get some money out and get a better fourth midfielder because I feel like the attack looks a little bit ropey, I think, with Anderson and Minte. So that's one path. So that's the path where I roll this week. The second path is a little bit more, should I call it conservative or aggressive? Actually, maybe let's call it aggressive because I'm using 2 free transfers this week.
Okay.
In that case, I would just do Rodon to O'Reilly this week.
Okay.
So I've got this money. I can do this guy and bench Minte this week. Now, this way, the advantage is I get a little bit of, in this case, actually not much EV gain by getting O'Reilly instead of Minte. But next week, I'm really well set up because I've got my triple Man City home to. Actually, in my model, I've upped O'Reilly's minutes quite a bit.
I was going to say, like, if you think O'Reilly's, like, we've got a small chance of Ait-Nouri starting. But if I just say, like, he's going to start, then actually you are getting pretty good enough points over Minter, and then you go to game week 17, and yes, this is why. So this is why I don't need to get
looks
O'Reilly.
Really good.
Because I think O'Reilly for me is like, I can free hit him in, or I can free hit Man City attack. And then around that, he's not as essential for me. So that's why I'm not buying him. But yeah,
but so if I went this route, if I went that route, then I don't get Semenyo because then this team looks great, right? Because Minte has a great fixture. Yes. All my defenders have a great fixture. And so
you'd be benching someone pretty good if you brought Semenyo in.
Which is Timber or Van Dijk.
Well, you're already benching Timber. Yeah.
Exactly. So then in that case, I would save this week and then go into next week. Then at that point, I would take money out and get Tarkowski or somebody for Timber. So that would be the broad thinking in terms of where I'm going with it. So I think good flexible position, lots of transfers, and I'm not burning through them. So
are you leaning a certain way? Do you think? So this one.
I'll look at minutes tomorrow.
You rolled here, then you get this one, and it's what Timber to. Who did you say?
Tarkowski.
Oh, you go to Tarkowski in 17. Oops.
Yeah.
And then Anderson, you've got space for.
I could do Anderson to Szoboszlai.
Or Szoboszlai.
Oh, sorry. Which path are we on?
This is the Mateta to Thiago. Oh, I guess there's been price changes.
And roll.
That's why it says. Yeah, I'd have to fix that. But we could do it. Well, I could do it here. I wanted to. Anyway, doesn't matter. So I guess the O'Reilly now is how much of a gain was that? I mean, that was like half an EV.
It's 0.7, 0.5.
Oh, points. Yeah, if you're sure of a start, I guess. I mean, I don't know if they're early. We might get news that he's starting or he's not starting. He does seem like.
I think it's not an early game.
So
I'll look at minutes tomorrow.
You're going very heavily against Palace defense. You're going. I want double City attack and a City defender. Take on Palace.
Yes.
What are they going to do?
Palace have been poor, but I did also see today that Sarr actually may make the Man City game. That small things like that might just influence
it. If Sarr comes in and scores against O'Reilly, I think we will be laughing at you, I'm afraid. But just because it's funny, not because we're enjoying your downfall.
No, I'm available for laughs. Okay. Sunday is when the Man City game is. We're not going to get anything. So I'll just have to take a call on minutes after tomorrow night's Champions League game, or those of you who are listening, tonight's Champions League game.
Yes.
And
or last night's Champions League game.
And we'll just take it from there. Yeah.
Whenever you listen. Yeah.
I'm inclined to just leave it, to be honest. We'll see. It's like 60-40. But I'm still only using 1 or 2 of my 5. So I feel like it's okay.
And I think, again, the flexibility of like actually not buying O'Reilly this week. You could get here and still do the O'Reilly plan just a week later. We talked about,
Timber to O'Reilly then.
You could still do Timber to O'Reilly and then roll. and then that's, you lost out a bit.
Well,
this
in that
week
case, I would also get Semenyo for Anderson. If I did roll,
Oh, you would.
then
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
be a little bit more aggressive.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So this is the second path.
So it's the same path, but O'Reilly comes in a week later.
A
So
week
you
later,
forgo
exactly.
O'Reilly over Minter in Game Week 16, which, yeah, I mean, seems okay. Like, Minter against Liverpool is not too bad. He's playing against Virgil, so there's a bit of, with that, and actually,
yeah, but actually in this case, I don't mind this.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But
but I consider these two as like the weakest two of this week.
Mm-hmm.
So if my weakest two play against each other, it's not the worst in terms of
Virgil can get DEFCONs
higher floor kind of thing.
Kicking Minter.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. But yeah, I think actually that's why I would probably favour the rolling one, because actually, like, if it turns out that, I don't know, Tarkowski's injured, you just go back to plan B and you went, oh, okay, well, I lost out a little bit. And it might even be that you don't miss out points wise, like O'Reilly clean sheet gone, Minter goal. Oh, it was good that I waited.
Exactly.
I think that's the one where perhaps if we put a disruption probability on it, then it would probably incentivize you to
ask me to
roll and buy O'Reilly the following week if you want. Yeah, team looks good. Saka captain, on vice captain.
Saka captain for sure. I mean, unless there's a little bit of the old limp after the Champions League game.
Well, I'm almost expecting that. It just seems to do it every time. But we'll see.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then Saka will be captain. Otherwise, will I captain Bruno home to Bournemouth? No, I think I'll just be on Haaland.
I hadn't thought of that. Some people might captain Timber. We've heard shouts for Timber. No, you don't want to. You get Timber and Araya and another Hincapié, quadruple defense.
Well, we're assuming Saka will limp and Arteta will be coy about it, so we're not going to take out Saka.
I don't actually know, other than Saka stretch it off, I don't know what information would actually make me think Saka's not playing. Exactly. Even Arteta.
Let's not put it out in the universe. He's our captain for this weekend.
Okay.
He'll be fine. You stay safe.
He's going to get injured overnight. He's going to wake up in the morning, not able to play. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, all looks good. So we should be back next week.
We'll leave it there. Yep. We will be back next week. And if you've listened so far, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us. Subscribe if you can. Like the video, all that good stuff. Check out the new tool or the new features of the tool. See if it's cloudy. See if it's a blue sky and see what changes it tells you.
Yeah, you should look out the window and decide what transfer disruption you're putting on.
Because that's what the gods are telling you. That's how you should do it.
Exactly. Cool. Right. We'll see you all next week. Bye, guys.
All right. See you all.